intelligence sources are convinced the attack on the consulate in Libya was directly tied to al-Qaeda. We've received word just within the last few minutes that they think one person may be tied and may have led the attack on the ground. His name, Sufyan ben Kumu. Now, his name also translated Sufyan Ibrahim Gamu, likely involved in the attack according to sources, may have even led it on the consulate. Gumu, a Libyan, was released, now this is the important part, released from the U.S. prison at Guantanamo Bay in 2007, released from Gitmo and transferred to Libyan custody under the condition back then that he would be kept in jail. He wasn't. According to his Gitmo files, which we have obtained, he was also tied to the 9/11 financiers. His alias is, quote, found on a list of probable al-Qaeda personnel receiving monthly stipends and family support. So again, possibly this is one of the men involved in the attack, maybe the leader of the attack on the consulate in Libya. We've obtained these files from his Gitmo records, and there's also a tie to 9/11 and the financiers. 5 minutes. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Harridge is here tonight. Catherine, this dovetails, if all true, with what was happening on Capitol Hill today.
It's very confirmatory. Terrorism is an act of violence to promote a political end, and now the assault on the consulate in Benghazi is being seen through that lens by a senior Obama administration official who testified on Capitol Hill today.
Well, let me begin by asking you whether you would say that Ambassador Stevens and the 3 other Americans died as a result of a terrorist attack.
Certainly on that particular question, I would say yes. They were killed in the course of a terrorist attack on our embassy.
8 days after the assault in Benghazi, the administration's narrative that the attack was spontaneous is fraying at the edges. At the briefing 2 hours after Olson's comments, the White House spokesman had a hard time reconciling the administration's description with so-called demonstrators who carried RPGs and used mortars.
All I can tell you is based on the information we had at the time, we have now, we do not yet have indication that it was pre-planned or premeditated. There's an active investigation.
While the Libyan president and senior lawmakers briefed on the assault have consistently called it a premeditated terrorist act, earlier this week the State Department pushed back on the characterization.
I'm not going to put labels on this until we have a complete investigation, okay?
So you don't regard it as an act of terrorism?
I don't think we know enough.
Now a 3-page Homeland Security intelligence report obtained by Fox News is raising new questions about the administration's claim that these demonstrations in Cairo on 9/11 were solely fueled by the amateurish video clip about the Prophet Muhammad. 2 days before the demonstrations, Homeland Security had information that there was a call for Egyptians to attack the U.S. Embassy to force the release of the blind sheikh, who is held in a federal prison in North Carolina after his conviction in the first World Trade Center attack. The call to action posted on the web read in part, quote, "The time has come for a strong movement from you, O sons of Egypt, to release the detained sheikh. Let your slogan be no to the American embassy in Egypt until our detained sheikh is released, even if it requires burning the embassy down with everyone in it."
The film is a part of it, but there's more, including, I believe, definitely the blind sheikh being a factor in these demonstrations.
8 senior Republicans sent a letter to the State Department and the Justice Department today after unconfirmed reports that the Obama administration was considering the transfer of the blind sheikh to Egyptian authorities. A Justice Department spokesman said the reports were absurd, and the State Department spokeswoman said, quote, "There is no plan to release the sheikh at this time," Brett.
There was info, according to sources, that this guy, Gumu, was training Libyan jihadists ahead of the Gaddafi ouster. If, in fact, he led this, or was a part of it, was let go of Gitmo, had ties to 9/11 in some way, it's just a whole different ballgame.
That's a real game changer, this information that you've reported tonight. This individual was part of the group called the LIFG. This is the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group. This is a group that has had traditional ties to al-Qaeda. They've provided fighters to Afghanistan and Pakistan, and they're really considered the cornerstone of what we see of al-Qaeda in North Africa. So this information tonight is really a game changer and may explain why we heard from the head of the National Counterterrorism Center today that it was an act of terrorism, that it wasn't anything else.
All right, Catherine, we'll continue to follow it. Thank you.